because the more capable technology is becoming, the clearer it is becoming what technology can never replace. Welcome to Intuition Unlocked. This podcast is for women who are craving a deeper return to who they are. Maybe you've lost your spark a little, or feel unsure of your next step, or find yourself searching outside of you for clarity. Well, this space is here to bring you back inward and ignite your heart and soul once more. I'm your host, Olivia Ashley, a mother and intuitive, and I'm so happy you're here. Hello, friend, and welcome into Intuition Unlocked. Recently, I've been thinking about something that feels both exciting and a little unsettling, which is the realization that we are living through one of the biggest shifts in human history right now. Every week, there seems to be another breakthrough in artificial intelligence, another app promising to think for us, another algorithm predicting what we're going to buy, what we'll watch, who we'll date, how we'll parent, and even what we should believe. For the first time in our human existence, at least that we are aware of, we have access to almost unlimited information. And yet, I don't know if we've ever felt more uncertain as a society. We are more overwhelmed and more disconnected from ourselves and the world around us. So with that in mind, it shapes today's episode where I want to explore a question I haven't really been able to stop thinking about, which is, what if the most valuable skill in the future isn't knowing more? What if it's trusting yourself more? One of the big reasons I wanted to start this podcast was because I noticed something happening, both in myself and those around me, and my friends and the women I was working with, where we all had become incredibly good at looking outside of ourselves for information, for insight, for answers. I mean, even those of us who felt very intuitive or like we had practices to check in would still go to others or experts or books or podcasts to keep learning or to keep checking in to see, is what we're choosing right? Or is this next step the best for me? Can you tell me? And it's interesting because we became incredibly informed in many ways about different subjects and felt very expanded on the topics we could talk about and come back and discuss. And yet, strangely, we were not often convinced on things. It was almost like we replaced certainty that we would feel within ourselves with this endless searching or endless checking in, or when will this happen, or how will this happen, and what will that look like? And honestly, I don't think it's because we are incapable of knowing or finding our truth. I think it really spurred from this realization that we had simply forgotten how, because we had been trained and programmed in a way to be endlessly searching, questioning, gathering outside information to help us make decisions or answers. And there is absolutely a place and time and beautiful support in being able to do that. We absolutely can utilize all of this information in a very beneficial way. And yet what I was seeing within myself and in others is that there was a lot of noise that we were struggling to cut through. And so this podcast became a space where I wanted to bring you in to the inner workings of my own mind and my curiosities, and the realization that I have spent a lot of my time and life searching for something to make my life or self or body or emotions feel better. But what I've realized by doing that over time is that I overlooked the very system within me that could help me innately feel better, trust myself more, find peace in my own being and life. And that was my connection to my intuition and something bigger, and the connection to my community and my friends. And that's what gave me fulfillment. That's what helped heal. And not just my intuition, but listening to my intuition and taking action and choosing based on what felt most right for me, what foods to eat, how to school and parent, how to navigate my career or show up as a leader, how to have a strong relationship and self-trust with myself. And so I start here because I think it coincides with this bigger conversation and this bigger realization that this is happening on such a large scale, where we are outsourcing and searching for the answer outside of ourselves and really creating some big chaos or struggles in our society because of the level that this has come to, when in reality, there is a truth inside that knows the way, that can pave the path for you, that can give you the answers that you're searching for, and also feels a lot more grounded and peaceful than it does hustling and utilizing all these other things all the time. So, related to this, one of the most fascinating things psychologists have studied for decades is something called an external locus of control versus an internal locus of control. So, what this means is that people with stronger internal locus of control generally believe that they can influence their lives through their own choices and actions. Whereas those with stronger external locus often feel that outcomes depend mostly on outside forces, so other people or luck, circumstances, or systems. And neither is entirely wrong or right. Life, as we know, it certainly includes things outside of our control. But what is interesting about this is that research in this area consistently finds that people with a stronger internal locus of control often report higher well-being, greater resilience, and more confidence in navigating uncertainty. So what we can notice about this is not that there is certainty about outcomes, but there is confidence that is found in oneself. And that's an important distinction, because trusting yourself doesn't mean believing you always get it right. It means believing you can meet whatever comes next. The outcomes are out of our control, but what is in your control is your internal landscape and what you build within there. And while we can understand this, modern life quietly trains us in the opposite direction. Think about it. Before you choose a restaurant, typically you go and read a few reviews. Before you buy a stroller, you probably watch some comparison videos or again, read a few reviews or mommy blogs. And before you make a big life decision, you often ask, what does everyone else think? What's their feedback on it and how does it feel to them? Doing these things are not bad by any means. Asking questions and gaining information is great. Getting wisdom from others matters. Learning matters. Yet somewhere along the way, many of us have stopped just gathering information to then move our life forward, and we've started outsourcing our discernment and gotten stuck in the spaces that we are in. There's a big difference between these two spaces. And now we have added artificial intelligence into this space, which makes it even more interesting. And I will be the first to say, I use AI, and you probably do too. There are so many incredible platforms and tools that AI can offer us. It can summarize research, generate ideas, organize information, and sometimes save us hours of work. I do not think AI is the enemy here by any means, but I do think it's revealing something really interesting, because the more capable technology is becoming, the clearer it is becoming what technology can never replace. While it can generate answers, it cannot tell you which answers align with your values. While it can help you compare schools, it cannot tell you which environment will help your child flourish the most. It can help you write wedding vows, but it cannot share the love you have for your partner. It can recommend you a career, but it cannot tell you what kind of life you want to wake up inside every morning. And the biggest piece I think I see is that it can analyze patterns, but it cannot always create meaning, because that is still profoundly human. And maybe that's where intuition and this space has been misunderstood a bit. Because for years, intuition has often been portrayed as something only mystical, that it's only a whisper from the universe or a psychic gift that some have, or this magical knowing that you're gifted with. And while I absolutely believe life is filled with mystery and there is some mysticism in this space, I think intuition is also wonderfully practical, because sometimes intuition is simply your deepest wisdom speaking before your overthinking catches up. Sometimes it's your body noticing something before your conscious mind has words for it. And sometimes it's years of lived experience being integrated beneath awareness. Neuroscientists even sometimes describe intuition as rapid unconscious pattern recognition. Your brain is constantly taking in far more information than your conscious mind can process, and it uses those accumulated experiences to help guide decisions before you can explain them. So psychology gives us one language for it, and spiritual traditions give us another. And I don't think they contradict each other or one has to be more right than the other. I think they are both describing different dimensions of the same human experience that we witness within our intuition. It is complex, it is mysterious, and while we do have an understanding for it, there is a lot that we simply just might never understand, and yet that doesn't take away from its beauty and the power that it has when we utilize it. Something else I've been thinking about lately is that perhaps intuition isn't becoming more important because technology exists. Maybe technology is simply revealing how important intuition has always been, but has been often overlooked. Because right now, access to information and the abundance of information is not necessarily our greatest challenge. Having discernment about it all is. So discernment is knowing which voice to listen to, knowing which opportunity to pursue, knowing when to stay or to leave, and knowing when fear is trying to protect you and when it's trying to keep you small. No search engine can answer those questions for you. Your own intuition and your discernment does. So that's why one of my favorite words lately is discernment, because discernment reminds you that wisdom isn't believing everything you read or you feel. It's learning to distinguish between fear and truth, urgency and importance, conditioning and authenticity, comfort and alignment, and between someone else's expectations and your own knowing. Discernment asks, what is true here? Not what is everyone else doing and what is their truth? And when you begin using discernment, something beautiful starts to happen because you are trusting yourself more. You stop trying so hard to control your life, which might sound a little backwards because I know we all love controlling and doing that. And you might say, well, wouldn't trusting yourself make you feel more in control? Well, actually, I found the opposite because when I don't trust myself, I need certainty, I need guarantees and others' approvals and proof before I move. But when I trust myself, I don't need life to be predictable because I trust that I can respond to whatever unfolds in that moment. And so that need for control starts to go away. And it's replaced by self-trust, which then creates more flexibility within myself, not rigidity. And I've realized as someone who talks about intuition, uses their intuition, researches about intuition, people sometimes assume that using your intuition correctly means that it's always about making the perfect decision. But that isn't usually true. There's many decisions I've made based on my feeling that don't work out. And you've probably made decisions that didn't work out either. And when that happens, it doesn't mean your intuition failed. It sometimes means that the lesson was the path, or that clarity exists in hindsight and we learned something. And that growth is often requiring experience more than certainty. So using your intuition and trusting yourself isn't believing you'll never stumble. It's more about knowing that you won't abandon yourself if you do, if you try, if you take that step forward. I also wonder if one of the costs of modern life is that we've lost many of the conditions that help intuition flourish. We are constantly consuming through our phones, through listening to things, watching things, reacting, responding, doing. Our attention is always being invited somewhere else. But our intuition rarely is going to compete for that attention because it's quiet. It waits. It typically does not interrupt unless something is going very wrong and it's going to knock you on your head. But typically it's not going to shout over your notifications. It usually remains available whenever you become available again to listen to it, which means that perhaps the greatest act of resistance today around technology or AI or this abundance of information and expectation of doing always isn't about becoming more productive. Maybe it's about becoming more present. when I first started in this space, I really believed that I could help others in their life by helping them strengthen their intuition. But now I think what I'm actually helping people do and what's really moving the needle in people's lives is to help them remember themselves. Because beneath your noise, beneath the expectations of your life, beneath the comparison or the endless advice, there is still a part of you that knows. It knows who you are. It knows the truth. It knows how to connect within and outside of you and navigate your life in a really beautiful way. It maybe doesn't know every answer for you, but it gives you enough to be able to take the next step. And I think that's all we ever needed. But we've come and been born into this space where everything is a bit upside down and backwards. I can look and see the beauty that that's allowed, the growth, the comforts, the safety, the opportunities, all the technologies that make our life better day to day, the ability to connect, the access to information at our fingertips at any moment. And yet we are tired, we are overwhelmed and stressed and sick, and we are not in tune with ourselves, our body, the environment around us. We're doing a lot more harm than good, unfortunately, because we have a lot of open loop systems. And what I see your intuition doing and your ability to listen to it is starting to close that loop, because it's taking in all this feedback and information from inside and outside and helping you digest it and integrate it and giving you the compass to read the world around you in a way that feels more authentic to you. And knowing this, I believe the future will belong to people who can do something increasingly rare. And it's not going to be the people who know the most or consume the most information or on top of all the trends. I think it will belong to people who can integrate knowledge without losing themselves and can integrate it in a way that sees the good for the whole versus the good for the few. It's going to be those of us who can use AI without outsourcing our humanity, who can seek wisdom without abandoning our own inner wisdom, who can remain curious without becoming dependent, and who can stay open while remaining deeply rooted. Because in a world where almost everything can be generated, your presence cannot, your values cannot, your lived experiences cannot, and your unique way of seeing the world cannot be. Your intuition cannot be automated. So maybe the invitation I want to leave you with this week isn't to search for another answer. I want to invite you to create enough space to hear your own. So before you ask others about something or you go to search something, drop in and ask yourself first, what feels true? What matters most? What choice honors me and what I need? And once you have that, then you're welcome to ask for advice or to go learn or use the technology that you have at your fingertips. But let yourself find your truth first, or at least an inkling of what that might be before you go turn to technology. Let it be a partner, but not the person in control. Let yourself stay in control, because these things are meant to support your wisdom, not replace it. And your intuition was never designed to compete with the world's opinions. It was designed to help you navigate them. And I have a feeling that that may become one of the greatest human superpowers of our lifetime. Thank you so much for spending this time with me today. If you enjoyed this conversation, please share it with one friend who you think might enjoy it as well. And if you're enjoying these episodes, I'm so grateful to have you here listening and a part of this community. And I'd love for you to subscribe and follow the show wherever you listen. Until next time, keep listening inward and staying curious. I'll see you next week. Thank you so much for being here today. I'm truly grateful you chose to spend this time with me and be a part of this community. If this episode resonated, I'd love for you to leave a rating and written review, because it helps Intuition Unlocked reach more women who are ready to live clearer, bolder, and more self-led. As a thank you, screenshot your review and email it to me, and I'll send you a resource to support your next step. And until next time, root into your truth, rise into your power, and radiate your light.